I stood among the fragments of my life as the dealership manager laughed and shoved me out the door, simply because I didn't fit their idea of a real customer. No one even tried to find out who I was. They judged me by the color of my skin, my car, my clothes, and deprived me of the right to dream. But tomorrow, I'll come back, and what I'll do will shock even those who think they've seen it all. But let's start from the beginning. Everything happened too fast. So fast that I hadn't even fully realized how much things had changed. Not long ago, I, Jamal Williams, was just an ordinary guy, barely making ends meet. I woke up every day with a weight on my chest. How to pay rent, how to make it to the next paycheck. But fate, it seemed, had decided to smile on me when I took a risk by investing in a couple of startups. It was a random choice, a combination of intuition and desperation. I knew the stakes were high, but did I ever think that this would change my life? Now, just a few months later, I'm a millionaire. I'm not used to money, but now I have it. And what to do with it? I'm still the same Jamal, not in a hurry to change my habits. My old Honda still sits in the parking lot by my house, a faithful companion that helped me through the toughest times. And although I can now buy anything I want, my actions are still slowed by old habits. But there's one dream that has followed me since childhood: to buy a Lamborghini, a symbol of success, the embodiment of luxury and power. Every time I drove past a dealership, I saw them shining in the sun like cars from another world. Now that world is mine. I feel the thought spinning in my head. It's exciting, even a little scary. Tomorrow, I'll do it. I'll go to the dealership and pick out the car I've always dreamed of. Anxiety builds. It's strange because I've wanted this for so long, yet the feeling that I'm intruding into someone else's world won't leave me. In this world, people measure themselves by money, not merit. But I've decided. It's time to stop hiding behind modesty. Let them see who I've become. I park my old Honda in front of the dealership. It stands out among the other cars like an archaic memory of the past. I step out of the car and feel the eyes of the employees on me. Their gazes, cold assessments, instant judgments. I've grown used to this over my life, but now things are different. In the past, such looks pushed me away, set up barriers, but today I confidently stride into the showroom. Inside, the air is steeped in luxury. Marble floors, gleaming lights, cars displayed like art pieces. But I feel like an outsider, as if I've snuck in without permission. A voice inside whispers that this is temporary. But isn't this my world now, right? My eyes land on the Lamborghini, orange, with predatory lines. It seems to be waiting for me. I walk toward it, but a manager interrupts me. A tall guy with gelled hair walks over, his face clearly saying, "You don't belong here." He sizes me up from head to toe and asks, with a hint of disdain in his voice, "How can I help you?" His tone sparks a dull anger inside me. I know this type, the kind that judges based on appearances and immediately assigns you a place in life based on the car you drove up in. I hold myself back and calmly reply, "I'd like to look at the Lamborghini." His eyes narrow, and he almost sneers. "Cars like that aren't for people like you." Wow, right to my face. I feel the rage boiling inside, but I keep it in check. I came here for a car, not for humiliation. Seconds later, another employee approaches, more aggressive this time. "If you don't have the money, you'd better leave right away. We don't waste time on people like you. Clearly, this isn't a place for me. But I'm not leaving so easily." I stand in the middle of the showroom, surrounded by cars that cost more than everything I've ever had before. And here they are, telling me I'm not worthy of being here. I have to clench my fist tightly to stop myself from giving a sharp retort. At that moment, I feel a gaze from the side. One of the employees, her name is Lisa, watches the scene with concern. In her eyes, there's no disdain, only tension, as if she understands her colleagues have gone too far. "Maybe we should at least hear him out," she says quietly to her colleagues, but they just brush her off. I almost feel sorry for her. She seems to be one of the few here who hasn't forgotten how to treat people. However, her intervention doesn't help. The other employees continue to push me out of the showroom. One of them even spits at my feet and, raising his hand threateningly, points to the exit. "Get out! You don't belong here. I'm thrown out the door like unwanted trash." Bitterness rises in my throat. Am I back in that world where I have to prove my worth every day, where people judge you by your car or clothes? But I stay silent. I leave. This time. The old Honda starts up smoothly, and I slowly drive away from the dealership. My anger and humiliation boil inside, but I'm not giving up. Today, they humiliated me, but tomorrow is a new day. A day when I'll return. But I'll come back in a way they won't expect. I already know how I'll teach them a lesson. And this is a lesson they'll never forget. Last night, I couldn't sleep. The events of the day replayed in my mind over and over, like an old film. The humiliation, the insults, the contemptuous looks. It seemed like just a typical situation, someone not taken seriously. But it was more than that. It was like a blow to my very existence. They judged me by my car, my appearance, by the way I dressed, as if I was still that guy scraping together coins until the next paycheck. But I'm not that person anymore. I've changed. I earned my fortune through my intellect, my risk, my determination. They didn't know that, but that doesn't excuse them. My old Honda is not a sign of poverty. It's a symbol that I haven't forgotten where I came from. Yet yesterday, it became my curse. Anger built up inside me. I won't let them get away with this so easily. Too many times in my life I've been pushed around, humiliated, made to feel less than I am. But not anymore. They won't just see that I can afford a car. I'll show them I can afford more. I'll buy the entire dealership. This won't just be about buying a car, it'll be an act of retribution. I called my lawyers that same night. Everything needed to be done quickly, clearly, and without delay. This time, I'll be in control. Tomorrow, I'll return not as a customer. I'll return as the owner. The next morning, I stand in front of the dealership. The sun shines as brightly as it did that day. But today is a different day. In my hands are the documents that will change everything. My lawyers are with me, making sure everything goes smoothly. No emotions this time. Just cold logic and resolve. I see the dealership, the very one where I was humiliated yesterday. The people inside have no idea that their world is about to be turned upside down. They still live in the illusion that they can judge others by appearances. But today, I walk into the showroom with a different posture, a different attitude. And this time, I'm not the person who listened to insults yesterday. Inside, everything looks exactly the same. Gleaming cars, expensive decor, managers with smug smiles on their faces. One of them notices me, and his expression changes instantly. He recognizes me. He looks at my clothes. They haven't changed, and his face takes on the same smug grin, as if he's about to repeat yesterday's script. But before he can open his mouth, I pull the documents from my pocket and place them on the counter in front of him. The manager's face changes. The smirk disappears, replaced by anxiety. "I'm not here for a car," I say calmly, but with inner strength. "I'm here for the whole dealership." He doesn't understand what I'm saying. Another moment and his world will collapse. I see my lawyers confirming everything, presenting the documents. The managers start to scramble like children caught in trouble, unsure of what to do. "This place is mine now," I declare. As the words leave my lips, a deafening silence fills the room. I watch as the realization slowly dawns on everyone present. The faces that were full of arrogance and contempt yesterday have now turned white with fear and confusion. They look at me like a ghost from the past who has suddenly become a real threat. All those who mocked me yesterday now understand that their days here are numbered. One of the managers, the same one who spat at my feet, is the first to recover. I see him trying to approach me, to apologize, to smooth over his aggression from the day before. But his attempts are pathetic. He knows that nothing can change now. "Sir, I didn't know that," he stammers, but I cut him off. "You didn't give me a chance to become your customer," I say coldly, but clearly. "Now you've lost your job." These words feel like a sentence from which there's no escape. The faces of the other employees grow paler by the second. They try to justify themselves, whisper among themselves, but they know it's useless. Today, their world has changed forever. I walk through the showroom, feeling a deep satisfaction at how things are unfolding. This isn't just revenge, it's a lesson. They'll never look at people the way they looked at me again. They'll never judge someone by their car or appearance. And while I'm filled with a sense of triumph, I don't let it overwhelm me. I'm simply following through with my plans, one step at a time, with cold clarity. The papers are signed. The dealership is mine now. Their world, it's no longer theirs. Now everything belongs to me. The feeling of power washes over me as I walk through the dealership doors again. But today, it's a completely different story. I'm no longer the guy who was arrogantly thrown out onto the street. Now, I'm the one who makes the rules. The irony in the air is palpable. Yesterday, these people saw me as insignificant. Today, they realize I'm their new boss. As I look into their eyes once more, a mixture of cold calm and deep satisfaction fills me. It's the feeling that justice has been served, but I'm not stopping here. My goal isn't just to fire them. My goal is to make them understand that every choice they made, every word they threw at me, has consequences. I walk through the showroom, and my presence begins to draw attention. They already know something has happened, but they can't grasp the full scope of it. Yesterday, they laughed at me, thinking I wasn't worth a second of their time. Today, I stand here as their new owner. I know they're about to learn some hard lessons today. My emotions are under control, though deep inside I'm savoring the moment. This isn't revenge in the purest sense. This is payback. Payback for their arrogance, for thinking they could judge a man by his appearance. Today, I'm going to show them just how quickly their world can turn upside down. Gather all the employees in the showroom, I say coldly. One of the remaining managers, still not fully grasping what's happening, hurries to carry out my order. Soon, all the faces that looked at me with disdain yesterday are gathered in one place. Their expressions grow increasingly nervous, and I can feel the moment when they all start to realize something is wrong. As many of you may know, I begin, and the tension in the room rises. Yesterday, I came here to buy a car, but instead, I gained something far more valuable. Today, I stand before you as the new owner of this dealership. The faces immediately change. I watch their hopes crumble. Those who threw me out the door now realize that they won't be able to escape the consequences of their actions. The manager who first mocked me is already pale as a sheet. His lips tremble, but he stays silent, knowing that whatever he says now won't make a difference. I want to tell you all one thing. You didn't give me the chance to become your customer. Today, you've lost your jobs. I say calmly, without a hint of emotion. The words cut through them like a knife. I don't feel sorry for them. This is the price they pay for their arrogance. I won't let anyone forget this lesson. Each of them now understands that the game is over. One by one, they approach me, trying to justify themselves. The managers beg me to reconsider, attempting to shift the blame onto others as if it wasn't their fault. But I remain unshaken. Their words no longer hold any value for me. They made their choice yesterday, and today I made mine. When all the important business is done, and the hall empties as the fired employees leave, I notice her. Lisa stands off to the side, avoiding eye contact as if she's afraid her fate will be the same as the others. She was the only one who tried to stand up for me. Her voice wasn't loud, and her influence was weak, but her actions didn't go unnoticed. I smile at her as I walk over. In her eyes, I see a mixture of fear and uncertainty. She doesn't know what's going to happen to her next, and it's evident from the way her hands nervously twist in front of her. Lisa, I say softly. You're not fired. Her face changes. She clearly wasn't expecting to hear that. In her eyes, surprise quickly gives way to relief. I see the tension leave her, and she barely manages to whisper, "Thank you, sir. I just didn't want to see you treated that way." I nod, understanding her words. She really did try to make a difference, even if her voice was weak in that moment. Her kindness was the only light in that cold, heartless showroom. You showed respect when it wasn't easy. That's a rare quality, I say, knowing that my words matter to her. I turn toward the counter, where a set of keys for the new cars is laid out, and with one motion, I pick up the keys to a Bugatti Veyron, parked in the corner of the showroom. It's one of the most expensive cars in the dealership, a symbol of luxury that she could never have dreamed of affording. I hold out the keys to her. "This car is yours now," I tell her, and the look on her face is one of absolute shock. "You've earned it." Lisa freezes in place, unable to believe her ears. It's an unexpected surprise, something she could never have imagined. At that moment, I realized that my revenge is complete. I didn't just change the rules of the game for those who humiliated me. I showed that the world can change when you show respect and fairness. In the morning, I feel an odd sense of calm. Yesterday, everything changed. I became the owner of the dealership, and those who had humiliated me ended up in my position. But what struck me most wasn't the feeling of victory, but the realization that among all the darkness, there was one person willing to stand up for me. Lisa. Her faint voice still echoes in my ears, a reminder that there's still room for kindness in this world. I remember her eyes, filled with empathy. She stood on the sidelines, afraid to speak up, but still tried. Among all those people, Lisa was the only one who didn't succumb to the collective cynicism. That meant a lot to me. And today, I know what I'll do for her. This won't just be a thank you. It will be a sign that good deeds never go unnoticed. My soul is filled with resolve. Yesterday, I fired those who thought they were better than me, but Lisa deserves more than just kind words. I'm going to do something for her that she couldn't even dream of. When I walk into the dealership again, Lisa stands in the corner, clearly nervous. Her hands tremble slightly, and she avoids making eye contact, as if she's afraid she'll have to leave like the others. But I see something more than fear in her eyes. There's a flicker of hope, the possibility that maybe her actions yesterday didn't go unnoticed. I walk up to her, and she immediately lowers her gaze as if expecting the worst. "Lisa," I begin gently, "you were the only one who showed me respect and kindness yesterday when everyone else refused. I haven't forgotten that." Her eyes widen in surprise for a moment. She clearly wasn't expecting to hear something like that. I just... She starts, stammering. I can see how hard it is for her to speak, how she's not used to this kind of attention. "You showed me that there are people who don't judge others by appearances or status," I continue, and tears well up in her eyes. "And for that, I want to thank you." I gesture for her to follow me, and she, not understanding what's happening, walks with me through the showroom. We approach the most expensive car in the dealership, the Bugatti Veyron. She stops, clearly stunned by the sight of the luxurious car, and looks at me, as if asking what's happening. "It's yours," I say, handing her the keys. Her eyes filled with tears, and she stands in shock, unable to believe what's happening. Lisa stands frozen, her face reflecting a mixture of shock, disbelief, and utter confusion. Slowly, she reaches for the keys, as if she can't believe this is real. Her lips move, but she can't find the words. Tears roll down her cheeks, and I see her world shift in that moment. This isn't just a car for her. It's a symbol that kindness can change lives. "I can't. I don't deserve this," she finally whispers, her voice trembling with emotion. "You deserve this more than anyone, Lisa," I say softly. "You showed me that people can be better than what they show on the outside. I want you to know that good deeds always matter." She looks at the car, then back at me, as if afraid it's a dream, and it will all vanish if she takes a step. Thank you," she whispers, barely holding back her tears. At that moment, I realized that this moment is just as important for her as yesterday's was for me. She received something more than just a reward for her kindness. She got proof that the world can be fair. Just as my world changed yesterday, today, hers has. We both stand on the threshold of a new chapter in life. I see the hope shining in her eyes, and that gives me more satisfaction than all the retribution I dealt to those who humiliated me. After all, it's kind acts that make us who we are meant to be. When I woke up this morning, there was a strange feeling in the air, like something had shifted. Yesterday wasn't even cold in my memory yet, but the story had already started to spread through the city. I could sense it. I opened my phone, and my social media was filled with messages. The faces of those who once underestimated me were popping up in conversations. The story of how a regular guy bought a dealership to teach arrogant employees a lesson was quickly gaining attention. At first, I just watched it all like a spectator at a show. It felt strange to realize that every step I took was now under a microscope. I hadn't sought fame, but the circumstances played out in such a way that my actions became more than just a business move. People were talking about justice, about how easy it is to misjudge someone based on appearance, and how quickly life can turn around. But what really moved me was that now, wherever I went, people didn't just see a millionaire. They saw someone who had challenged the system. And that made me feel uneasy. It was no longer just my story. It became the city's story, a story of not underestimating someone, no matter how ordinary they may seem. Today, I decided to return to the dealership with a new perspective. This was no longer just a place where cars were sold. I felt a responsibility for what would happen next here. I had always wanted to build something of my own, but now I realized that this place could become a symbol of justice. Not just a place to sell cars, but a philosophy that people could trust. When I arrived, the employees I had kept after the shakeup were waiting for me at the entrance. I saw their changed expressions, now filled with the respect that hadn't been there before. They understood that I wasn't here for revenge, but to create something new. Lisa, standing a little to the side, watched everything with curiosity and anticipation. "I want to talk to you all," I said, gathering everyone in the meeting hall. My speech was short but meaningful. I explained that the philosophy of this dealership needed to change. From now on, every interaction with a customer would be built on respect, regardless of what car they drove or how they looked. We wouldn't just be selling cars, we'd be selling trust and experience. Our customers would leave feeling valued as individuals, not just as wallets. The faces of the employees brightened as they realized they were now part of something important. I could see they felt they were part of something bigger. That feeling is contagious. When you work not just for money, but to change the world around you. Weeks passed, and I began to notice my idea transforming into reality. The dealership thrived. Customers came not just for the cars, but for the new philosophy, for the feeling that they were valued. We created a place where every person was given attention, where no one looked down on them. This became part of our culture. And every day, this new approach attracted more and more attention. One day, a man in a suit, expensive but not ostentatious, approached me. His face seemed familiar, but I couldn't place where I knew him from. He stood hesitantly until I acknowledged him. "Are you Jamal Williams?" he finally asked. "Yes, how can I help you?" I replied, expecting some question about the car purchase. "I just wanted to thank you. What you did changed the way I see people and business," he said. "I used to be one of those who judged by appearances, but you showed me there are other ways. I was in your dealership, and the way I was treated here made me rethink my entire approach." His words felt like the culmination of everything I had been trying to achieve. I hadn't just built a successful business. I had changed the way people saw themselves and those around them. What had begun as a quest for vengeance had turned into a movement for justice and respect. The world may change slowly, but every step we take matters. At first this was my story, but now it's the story of everyone who crosses the threshold of my dealership. I'm no longer just the guy who made millions. I've become a symbol of change, showing that justice is more than just a word. Every time I look back at how this all began, I feel a slight tremor of disbelief. So many events have unfolded since the moment I first walked into that dealership that changed my life. Back then, I thought the story would end with me buying my dream car, a Lamborghini. But things turned out so differently. I'm no longer just the guy who suddenly became a millionaire. My journey is only beginning, and despite all my success, I feel like it's still not enough. It's been several weeks since my dealership became a symbol of respect and justice. People come not only for the cars, but for a new philosophy, for that feeling of being valued. That's amazing, but something inside me keeps pushing me to go further. I don't just want to run a dealership. This was an important step, but I need more. I need to create something that can change people's lives on a deeper level. I started thinking about new projects. It's no longer about the money. I have enough of that. Now, my goal is to bring about change, to expand the boundaries of what I've created here, and to make respect and honesty the foundation of any business. Maybe I can do this through investments, or perhaps through something else. I feel like this is just the beginning. These days, I spend a lot of time discussing new projects and investment opportunities. I meet with different people, study proposals, and choose companies that resonate with my values. I want to work with those who understand the importance of human relationships in business, not just those chasing profit. My team, which started out small, has already grown. Lisa now plays a significant role in my projects. She's become my right hand. Her perspective, her sensitivity to details, and her ability to see people for who they are have been invaluable to me. Her role in the dealership has expanded, but now she's involved in many of my new ventures. We often discuss how we can implement our principles into other businesses that are willing to change. How do you see this project? I asked Lisa as we reviewed a new startup focusing on sustainable materials for the automotive industry. She looked at me thoughtfully. I think it could be a big step forward, but only if the company is truly willing to change. We need to make sure they don't just talk about values but actually live by them. Her words were right on point. Every step I take now is carefully thought out. I don't want to make mistakes when choosing partners, because I feel responsible not only for my money, but for how my actions impact society. We decided to support a few companies working on innovations in environmental and social projects. My goal is to create an ecosystem of businesses where honesty and respect for people and the planet are the foundation. Today, months after my first step toward change, I stand at the top of my new world. The dealership continues to thrive, but I'm no longer involved in its day-to-day operations. The team manages it on their own. Meanwhile, my investments are starting to bear fruit. I've invested in several companies that share my values, and I'm already seeing the first returns. My philosophy is spreading, and it's causing different reactions in people. Some are inspired and want to join in. Others are skeptical, thinking that honesty in business is a fantasy. But I know one thing. I won't veer off this path. Even if there are challenges and setbacks, I'm ready to go all the way. Recently, one of my business partners said to me, "Jamal, you realize that many people will think you're naive, right? In a business world driven by profit, your strategy might not work." I looked at him and smiled. "Maybe so," I replied. "But I'm not here to play by their rules. I'm here to create my own." Inside, I knew bigger challenges awaited me in the future, perhaps even more serious than anything I've already faced. But I'm prepared. I've realized that my actions are no longer just about me. I've become an example for many who believe business can be done differently, without deceit and manipulation. I don't know what's coming next. I can't predict the future, but I know one thing. I won't stray from this path. The world needs change, and if I have the opportunity to make even a small difference, I'll do everything in my power. From this moment on, my life isn't just about money or status. It's about the journey I've chosen, and I'm ready to walk it to the end, no matter what.